So on this week's episode, we are restoring the chassis and undercarriage of my 36-year-old four-wheel drive. I'm hoping that I'm going to be restoring it back to the same, if not better, than the day that it rolled off the factory floor. Keyword there, attempt to, because I've never done this before. So it could turn out terribly, but for you guys, no matter what, you're going to have a good idea of how to do it yourself and be able to learn from my mistakes. And the best part, I'm doing it on my driveway without taking the body off the chassis and without any special tools. And it's just 3 steps. I'm going to be transforming it from this condition to this, and I'm doing it while the engine is out. Not essential. Ideal world, the cab would be off as well, but I'm not going that far. It's just going to give me a lot more room to get in all this stuff, and obviously on top of the diff, and also a lot more access to the front where a lot of the rust is because of rock chips. And step number 1, all of you probably won't have to do, is taping up anything you don't want any degreaser or paint or anything else like that in. But tape up the bell housing just because it's already getting dust in there. I probably should have done this the day that I took it off. So it is probably a good time to tell you that I did cheat a little bit. I have actually had the chassis dry ice blasted, not coated, just blasted, so that hopefully this final result turns out better. I will put up the before shots now so you can see bottom of the cab was very, very caked in stuff, and anything that was painted black was basically brown. And then now you can see all of the silver under the chassis, pretty much back to what it would have looked like factory. Diffs are in pretty shocking condition, but they're diffs, they get peppered by rocks. All there you can see, pretty decent. You can see how much better all this has come up. So this really doesn't honestly look like it needs a coat of paint, but it's this kind of stuff and this little bit of surface rust that's all throughout that stop it from progressing any further and make it all look. And the first little bit I'm trying to do here is I want to jack the car up high enough to put my ramps under, so when I'm painting and degreasing and rust converting, I actually have some space, because if not, it is going to be real squishy. I don't know if you're supposed to jack off the bottom of a leaf thing like this, but I'm doing it anyway. Having this thing up here makes me really excited to have this thing on a 4-inch lift and 40-inch tires, 35s. Kidding, I don't think I'll actually go that big, even though it is already on a 2-inch body. If I added another 2-inch lift, then it would be 4 inches lifted, but still not gonna be this high. So now it's probably a pretty good time to show you the kit we're going to be using. This is in no way sponsored. I paid full price for this from KBS Coatings chassis coated kit. It comes with like a aqua clean, just like a heavy duty degreaser, rust blast, which is like a rust converting type coating. Keep that coated and wet for a bunch of hours, and then rust seal, which is the black paint that seals it all in and stops any more water or oxygen from penetrating the rust, making it rust more. I have no idea how good this kit is. I found like one video on YouTube that they used it and looked pretty good, so I'm excited to test it myself. And then now I'm going to go and tape up anything that I don't want painted. I'm going to use some bin bags, and I'm brushing it as well, so I should just be able to miss any bits. Time lapse. And to protect the driveway, I'm just taping down some painting sheet. It's only degreaser and some rust converter stuff, so it shouldn't be too bad, hopefully. And then when I'm washing, I'll put an actual tarp over the top to stop a bunch from dripping down. So now I've got the drop sheet down, it is time to hit it with the degreaser, the aqua clean. It says you can do a 1 to 1, 1 to 5, 1 to 10. I'm gonna do 1 to 5 because it is pretty clean. So that's for like moderate dirtiness. Then maybe for the engine bay, I may need to go back over with a 1 to 1 because I spill a lot of oil and coolant all over the place. But I think the 1 to 5 should be good. And I'm going to fill it up with warm water. Apparently warm water makes this way better. And I've got to keep it wet for about 20 to 40 minutes. So I've got to constantly keep going over, respraying it. So I may need to do this a couple of times. Got it measured out, it's got to pour it in. And to help activate the degreaser a bit, I have got a little scrubby brush and this on the drill. I'm not gonna run it too quick, but it's just to help. But the dry ice probably would have got rid of any tough bits. So this is really just paint prep for me, whereas if you're doing this yourself, it might be a bit more extensive. So I've got that front section fully degreased now, and I'm gonna throw a tarp down, get the hose, and just quickly rinse it off and give it a quick scrub so there's no residue left. And then I'm gonna go underneath and do from front to back on the chassis rails and the diffs, any steering components. I'm still torn whether or not I should do the leaves. I'll be getting new leaves, so I'll probably just do around them. Yeah, time to get a move on. So this next stage for some of this car is probably the most important. It is the rust converter stage. I have to keep it wet on the car for 3 hours, which is a long time. So I'm gonna have to sit out here, keep spraying and recoating. I'm gonna test it on the front here just to see how long it actually stays wet for. It says to apply it liberally, so I'm not going to be neat with this. I'm just gonna get it all soaked. So in the last video, I did the comment replies and you all seem to really like them. So I have a 2-hour timer here because that is how long I have to keep everything wet, 2 to 3 hours, depending on how it looks. And I've saved a couple comments, so I'm gonna go through now, reply to them while I'm doing this boring task. So we have Nick here that said, if you wanna swap something no one else has done, well, that is aware of, I should do a Mitzi 4M41, which is I think the old Prado engine, which from what I've heard, they are actually pretty reliable. And I do see a lot of people towing big caravans and stuff when I'm out bush with them, so they must be somewhat decent. But I do really want to try my best to keep this thing with the 12HT, but I'm starting to get quotes back now for the rebuild, me not doing it myself, someone else doing it, and they're upwards of 10 to 18 grand is what I've gotten so far. So it's going to look like I probably have to do that myself, minus the machining. So Aiden here says the clutch doesn't look too bad. You can tell by the 2 rivets in each pad, there should be about 5 millimeters of depth. But while it's out, I should still change it, which I do think I'm going to do. It's a really smart idea, because if not, I obviously have to drop the gearbox down later, but it's just way easier to do it while the engine is out. Even if it's only a year down the track, still a pain, might as well do it now. So good comment, I will do that. And then we have Gary here, 1 comment, steel capped boots. Yes, I know removing an engine without boots on, probably not a great idea. But I kept going inside to edit the video while I was taking the engine, and then I'd come back out and forget to put my boots back on. They're not steel cap, but they're still better than bare feet. So that's just what I'm gonna keep going with. And then Mr. Word here. Mr. Word? I probably said that really wrong. Awesome to see you giving it a go, mate. Only way to learn. Keep outing the bad commenters and promoting the supporters. I will definitely be not outing the bad people as much, but I will keep highlighting the good commenters and people that have good things to say and helpful tips. And I do try and reply to pretty much every comment down in the comment section. If I don't reply, you'll still see me liking it. So keep those comments coming and I will keep replying to them. Gotten everything with the first coat. Now I'm gonna go around and just keep going around and around for the next 2 hours and keeping it all wet. Enjoy the time lapses. So I'm about 1 hour in and I'm gonna show you what it looks like when it's drying. And then that's when you kind of hit it with the respray. You'll be able to see the white like flakiness, kind of like salt almost look. That means it's getting dry, so you need to respray it. Yeah, so I need to go back, hit the rear diff again. And it makes it nice and easy to know when you need to spray it again. And yeah, not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It takes maybe 5-ish minutes from when you're spraying it to go around and recoat it. I think I'm probably going to run out of this stuff before I get to the 3 hours, which I'm not too fussed about. The actual chassis itself, the spotting rust, there's not like massive bits that are really worrying. And now that I just sprayed that final coat, I have to rinse it off before it dries and goes white again. So I'm gonna quickly do that. And then it's on to the final step, which is painting. So it looks like it's done its job pretty well. I'll put up a clip of what this used to look like, and then that is it now. You can see pretty much, like, obviously still rust in there. It can't smooth anything out. That is a way better surface to be painting on, especially with the paint that they have, which seals any more water from getting in there. So it's gonna prevent the rust, like, way better. So I'm excited to get this painted. So now I'm on to step 3 out of 4. We have the rust seal paint to go on all the chassis, the diffs, and the steering components. I have a feeling this is gonna be the longest step. It actually needs to look good, but it is self-leveling, so that will help minimize any brush strokes. I'm really hoping this is gonna look good. So I'm only gonna pour out small bits of paint each time because I do not want to waste any of this because it doesn't look like there is much here. All right, time to start painting. The front's pretty well done. Now I need to get onto the diff, which is going to be tricky because I kind of have to be standing in there to paint it properly. Will be fun. It's taken a bit longer than I've expected, but I have my first base coat down in the engine bay, kind of back to where the front set of leaves mount further back on the car. And I'll show you quickly how it's looking. A lot glossier than I expected, but it's still tacky to touch, but it is looking really, really fresh. So good. have a look at that. So I did end up painting the leaves. I know that it's gonna come off the leaves, even just driving it. But for now, while it's all painted, it's gonna look good, and I will be replacing the leaves and the shockies so I didn't tape them up. So I'm not too fussed if they look pretty bad after just a couple Ks of driving. But everything else is looking schmick. I didn't do sway bars and stuff yet, because I'm gonna only do one coat on those, because that's purely just like cosmetic to make it look nice. But everything, the diffs and stuff look wicked. So the next time lapse that you will see is doing the chassis from front to back, starting on the passenger side, then the driver side. And enjoy, there's gonna be a lot of time lapses in this video. So let me know if I should keep doing more time, like keep the time lapses going, or if I should do less. I want these videos to be collaborative and see how you all like them, because they're still pretty new. I'm just taking a bit of a break because it is 34 degrees right now and it is way too hot to be painting, because the paint is just not going to work, probably be too liquidy and won't set properly. So I had an idea. So I just came up with probably the cringiest segment idea ever, but it is going to be called Things I've Learned Along the Way, which is for those of you following along, playing along at home, things that I've learned that would make it way easier if I was to do it again. I'm going to start with number one, and that is wearing full overalls. I have this paint all over me and I've tried about 30 different things to get it off, and I cannot get it off. So I think it's going to be a multi-day job. So I would just slap on some overalls, which I'm going to be doing for the rest of this video, which you can all laugh at, because it is a pain to get off. And then next will be buy packs on packs on packs of paintbrushes, just cheap ones. You could probably clean them, but this stuff is so thick and it dries and gets really, really tacky really quickly. So even if you're just putting your paintbrush down to top the paint back up, by the time you come back to it, you're leaving really, really big streaks, which although it is self-leveling, like if they're really thick streaks, it does not work. I'll show you some actual spots of it now that that's kind of happened. So just buy a bunch of paintbrushes. So you should be able to, I think, see there some of the swirls. Not the end of the world, but if I had my time over, that is where the paintbrush started getting a bit worse for wear. So I'm following my own advice for once, and I'm getting suited up. It's cooled down a little bit. Still probably a little bit too hot, but I'm doing the bits inside towards the back of the car. Now that is what they call fashion. Really funny as well, this bodysuit is an extra large, the biggest that they make. Hardly covers my arms, but biggest I had. All right, let's get into it. I've got a lot to paint. Day two on the paint, and I'm going to start up the back because there's a couple spots I missed and then work my way forward. Probably going to have a little bit less time lapse for this bit because you're not going to see any changes really. And my goal for today is to paint the car more than I paint myself, because yesterday I seem to have mostly painted me. So what you just watched was 7 hours and 45 minutes of time lapses of me degreasing, rust proofing, and then painting the chassis of the 60 series. And I'm about to do a quick walk around and show you around the car, but I want you all to let me know down below once you see the final result if you think it was worth it. The kit was $169 and the dry ice blasting was $1,500. So let me know in a comment down below whether you would do the same thing, whether you do something differently, or whether you just pay someone to organize it for you. I'm honestly really happy with the end result for the price, but you guys can be the judge. So probably the most important part is the front here, because it's probably the only bit you'll actually see somewhat regularly. I think this bit is probably the best. Try to get into all the nooks and crannies that I could, but it does look great. It's a lot more glossier than I expected, but I don't mind that look anyway. The front diff, sway bars and stuff all look clean. And probably one of the more satisfying time lapses was the bash plate that goes where the gearbox is, and the rear drive shaft also looks way, way better, but it has nothing on how much better the rear diff looks. Honestly, de-aged the car pretty much. I would say it looks better than when it would have rolled out of the factory. And then you have chassis, and that's a better view. You can just see the whole undercarriage of the car, how much better it looks. Quickly put up the before again. One thing I didn't talk about, I did the toe ball bar because that was really gross and rusty, so that looks a lot better. And I also spent a lot of time up under here because this is another spot that was pretty rusty. And that is the end of this video. So make sure, if you haven't already, hit subscribe because there's more episodes coming on the 60 series and on the BT50. And drop that comment below and let me know if you thought it was worth it or what next video I should do on the 60 series. The jack off the bottom of a leaf.